today's post is about this book by Mr. Eric Illyaparachchi, one of the most distinguished writers and critics of Sri Lanka. It's called Tawa Singheku Langa, meaning near another lion. Both Singapore and Sri Lanka showcase lions as their part of their national heritage. This is an exploration of Singapore's libraries. Now, when we think of libraries, we don't really think of Singapore, because Singapore, for Sri Lankans in general, it's a shopping paradise. Well, at least it used to be before inflation caught up and prices went up and airfares went up. But for many people, their travel routine between Colombo and Singapore, shuttling back and forth to buy goods, consumer goods, electronics, which was all back in Sri Lanka. So that is our idea of Singapore. But as this book shows us, Singapore is a lot more than that. And I apologize again for the road noises. I am doing this next to a main road. Like myself, Mr. Illyaparachchi is a bibliophile, and the first library visited in Singapore is Punggol Library in the suburbs, and it's a 4-story building, and with a children's section, an auditorium, and the books are all arranged according to themes. So that background music was a street cleaner with his radio passing by, so I hope he doesn't come back. And this book is a slim volume but loaded with information. It opens up so many cultural vistas for us. For example, in the Punggol Library, he discovers a book by Jan Fosse. Last year's Nobel Prize winner is a Norwegian writer. So the latest books are there. And this brief analysis of that novel Shining, which won him the Nobel Prize, takes us on a tour of European literature, takes us back to Franz Kafka, and it devotes an entire chapter to Franz Kafka, how he was trying to recover from a lung disease in a farm in the former Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic, and how he wrote so much. And how he wrote so much there while trying to recuperate, and he died very young from a lung disease, but left us a legacy of wonderful books. Incidentally, he didn't win the Nobel Prize. Then we come on to Mountbatten Road. Mountbatten Road evokes the name of Lord Mountbatten, the British aristocrat who led military operations against the Japanese in Asia during World War II from his headquarters in the botanical gardens of Sri Lanka. If you go there now, you can still see the building intact, more or less the same. It's like a greenhouse now, but it's still there. So there are so many historical evocations as we tread along with Mr. Illyaparachchi on this magnificent literary journey. And from Mountbatten Road, we go to Gallemard Road. But before we get there, I will mention that Lord Mountbatten was killed by the IRA in 1979, and in the same year, Dr. N.M. Pera died in Sri Lanka, and trouble was brewing in the north of Sri Lanka with Tamil separatism. So all these things, the dark chapters of life and the lives of writers themselves are not always sunny. Vasip Mandelstam, the Russian poet, was exiled by Stalin to a labor camp in Siberia where he died. Anna Akhmatova, the great poet of Russia, who again did not win the Nobel Prize, escaped that fate. When she was asked about the medieval Italian poet Dante, she said, "That's all I have read in my life, Dante." These cross-references are very valuable because they bring to us forgotten chapters of history, both dark and sunny, along the path of literature. And there is a lot of space devoted to the work of Dante, the Italian poet who wrote Inferno. And again, he mentions that, the writer mentions that the final chapters of the final book of Dante's epic work were lost after his death, and his family tried, his sons tried to find it, and looked as if they were gone forever, when one of the sons saw in a dream that they were in a secret recess in the house, and they looked for it and they found it. Otherwise, we would have lost a literary treasure forever. And it was damp, the papers were damp, they were saved in the nick of time, and that shows us that Italy's greatest poet lived in a house with a leaking roof, house that got wet. So that is the fate of many writers and poets all over the world. However, the libraries are there to safeguard their work. I am really thrilled by the fact that Singapore has not just libraries but storehouses of very efficient storehouses where roofs don't leak and books don't perish and to insects and the humidity. And it's not the Singapore that people have in mind, like people just work, make money, are total consumers, buy electronic goods, just travel, have fun, but they also have this intellectual side, this very serious side which is also maintained alongside the consumer life. And the libraries are always crowded. Mr. Illyaparachchi says they are always packed, sometimes it's hard to find a seat, and before they open in the morning there are people waiting outside. So I forgot to take you along Gallemard Road from after Mountbatten Road. Gallemard is the name of a famous French publisher which has published I think the largest number of the best of France's writers, including Albert Camus, and André Gide is one of the founders, and also many illustrious writers and poets from the rest of the world, Pablo Neruda, for example. And so Gallemard Road has a very special place in Singapore's cultural life. And thank you for listening to this video. I hope it was helpful. This book is available at the Colombo International Book Fair that is going on. It's a Godege publication. If you are interested, you may look for it. Otherwise, I hope the resume that I gave you will rekindle in you love of libraries. That is the main idea. People think that with digital media, e-books, etc., that books are history. They are not. Books are alive and well, cherished and looked after, and Singapore's libraries are testimony to that. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you again.